uh, ideology or whatever. But my next question would be: is ego good or bad?
Everything it has polarity. So
I'll make it a two-part question. What do you think ego is?
I feel like ego is like partially self-esteem. Um, but it's also in a sense of just like your persona. Well,
Ego itself.
so when you say like that goes back into like a spiritual aspect of knowing yourself, because knowing yourself means you know who you are, what you pursue, what your ego is, and you know how that's
Wow.
so it's like what
Ego, a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. You hit it right on the nail. I always just say self, but I ain't know self. You hit it on the money with self-esteem. But I cut you off. My bad.
so I just feel like and it's just a sense of balancing it, honestly, because is taking accountability for yourself, because ego some people say it in a negative essence because they say the ego is too big, or ego is
They don't really have an understanding what ego is. It
yeah,
sounds like
and it's like you don't really know yourself if you say or you're I don't know, it's kind of like ego is what makes you judge other people, honestly. It's just like that. If you're not comfortable with yourself, you're gonna have an ego that kind of
it's not comfortable with other people.
yeah,
Ego.
it comes off judgmental or this, or you probably say you know you feel confident in yourself, but other people it's like I don't know, it's weird. Ego is also a reflection of it's a reflection of you, but you are a reflection of other people.
Well, I just sum it up how
So,
I
I
see
don't
it.
know.
Ego is another
Yeah,
broad
so
thing.
it's like, damn
Another
it.
broad thing. But ego is a reflection of you, obviously. But what I would say your ego is accumulated of is your environment, your relationships, um, your morals, your religion, your spirituality. Um,
It's literally your essence.
yeah, your spirit, like I say, but ego even it's more than your spirit because it's your soul tied into it. It's your overall being, and our ego is honestly our ego. Like we talk about the people that's in our tribe and our understanding, our ego is them so huge, like it's universal. Our ego, so yeah, it is hard to understand and hard to kind of break down a lot of times, but when we simplify it, it's also just like our with this physical being that you see here. And when people talk about egos, trash, egos, this you don't really know what ego is, and I really wouldn't know what they're talking about when people talk about it like that. You know what I mean?
Okay,
I don't understand
in
that.
the sense of Beyonce, he got a big ego. Yes, okay, so it's like he has confidence in himself. Yeah, his thing or whatever is big, but that's also his confidence. He has enough assurance in himself to know, like, he walked like this, he talked like this, because he can back it up. He's very assured, he's confident. It's that self-esteem. It's stable, it's assured.
Her. So now I see why people get mad and knock other people's ego because they see that big ego and be like, it make them feel small. So now they try to pick and be like, well, no, it's that person. No, it's just you that feels small. So it's not a problem with having a big ego. It's just your lack of self-esteem. Bitch, it's called self-esteem. I love that line so much. So it's a classic. But yeah, so that's the problem when I hear people talk about ego being bad or that person ego is too much. Like,
Now, there are definitely flaws. Like I said, you have to acknowledge, you have to know yourself. You have to know, okay, well, yeah, maybe I am aggressive when people come at me like this. Yes, you'll justify it for some reason,
but
but
you should say he has an aggressive ego. Don't say big, because big ego
exactly,
that's a broad.
Your ego stems from something.
Big
like,
just kind of sound powerful in our spectrum because when we think big, we think powerful. So when you just say something like big ego, that don't really mean nothing to me. So you're gonna have to add more.
And that's
more
really the only
pretext to
time
that.
you hear people talk about ego is when somebody have a over
They trying to size it.
amplified view of it, and it's like they have confidence or they view themselves a certain way. You may not view them in that way, but it's because you don't view yourself the same way they view themselves,
Yeah.
and that's all that is. It's self for them. If you don't vibe with it, don't fuck with them. Go with your like-minded people. All right.
With the similar minded egos, because egos really don't flock together, but you know, and birds flock together.
Egos, eagles. They fly at a higher perspective. That is literally your highest fucking potential. An eagle. So thanks for that. Animal knowledge, you know. Eagles, literally, yeah.
But ego, a lot of times, other
higher.
people could say ego is your higher self too. So it's ego, also one of those words that just got a mystic understanding, and it's just how when we talk about the Bible, if everybody
Or like egotistical, so that's another annoying one too.
I just break down the ego part and we'll get to that. It's just how everybody, like in religion, be like, if you read the Bible, everybody gonna have a different breakdown of it. It's the same with these words. Like everybody gonna have a different understanding and interpretation on these words. So that's why things get so construed. But yeah, egotistical brings a negative connotation to that word. So what you saying?
Because it's like, oh, you're being egotistical. It's like more so people will look at that in a selfish manner, and that's another thing. Being selfish is also like something that's negative, and it's like, nigga, if you don't do for yourself first, you can't take care of anything. Nothing works unless you do.
Facts.
So you have to be self-assured first. So if somebody calls me selfish, I'm gonna be like, I know my intent behind being selfish.
Egotistic, someone who's self-centered or conceited, like you said. But for you to be, you have to be that to be successful, or be able to even take care of people.
It's like, it's just, I feel like people have these just power dynamics. And
They don't like power because they feel powerless.
yeah, and it's just, if you were self-assured yourself, you would feel totally fine. It would make you feel like that's that godly energy I was talking about. Like, you, a normal ass person, walked into a room full of famous people and they looked at you and everybody was like, hey Bryce, what's up, da-da-da. And you like, well damn, like I'm just me, but everybody know you and you're in a room full of famous ass people on a higher level, you gonna feel different. It's like, well damn,
You know,
I am something. So it's like when you know somebody is at that level and they recognize that's like they recognize that it's a like-minded thing. So it's like you're vibing with people on your level. You're going to feel godly shit because they godly.
If you're on that real God level, or how I love to say Goku, you just see it as a person that you can use to build off of.
Yes,
you don't
networking.
get intimidated.
That is networking.
You don't get intimidated. You work with that person because you see they got more power. You want to be around people that have more power, even if it's not your idea of power. That's okay. You're not a follower. You're your own person.
If you're the richest one in the room,
take what you can.
You're in the wrong room.
It's levels to it, but to the understanding, yeah, you want to always try to find somebody
in a sense of growth.
Yeah, because wealth is not just money, but yeah, for sure. If you got the most money, at least have somebody that's more wiser than you in the room, and you just have But yeah, what she said. But egotistical, caring about oneself, and the gratification of one's own desires rather than others. So even when someone egotistical, that word, like I said, has a negative connotation, but what was negative about that?
And that's another thing that happens. That happens a lot. Like people, they don't get acknowledged for doing good things on a daily basis. So it's like being selfish in a sense, or acknowledging yourself, kind of like giving yourself a pat on the back, is looked at in a weird way because
like, who are you, or like whatever.
But it's like you've done things every day where you can applaud yourself and you can take pride in that because that's you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like other people can look at that as selfish or whatever, but it's a way to do things, obviously, you know?
Yeah, that's true too. But when I see this, the gratification of one's own desires rather than others, this world and how we're naturally made to be workers, or I'll call slaves or pawns in this society. So we're always taught, like when J.F. Kennedy said it the best. He was like, it's not about what we can do for you, it's what you can do for this nation. And I look at that in the same aspect of that's just how we're trained, not what we can do for ourselves, what we can do for others. So if we're not doing for others, it's like oh, this person here is trash, this person's selfish, this person is, but it's like, nah, that's just a training for us to always put out and never be looking for much back. But then how does that really function long term? It doesn't.
It's
so I think that's a form of like some programming that we have in us.
Yeah, I just feel like society or physically people are just put to be like, okay, well, you're supposed to do for others, do for them. But it's like you forget that you are the vessel that's doing things, so you yourself have to be complete and comfortable enough or knowledgeable enough to know.
Man, have a strong enough foundation to even be giving out.
Yeah, so it's like if you're constantly doing for other people, it's
gonna burn yourself out.
Wear and tear.
You're gonna burn yourself out if you ain't taking care of yourself. And that's the thing. This society don't really care about you, so they'll burn you out. And that's why they keep certain principles like that that's kind of deep in us, and we don't really see that. But when you talk about ego and stuff and how people be like, oh, this person's selfish and self-centered, like,
be that.
Nigga, every powerful thing here is self-centered. That's why you follow it. Like, let's be real. Like, let's be real. And so that's just a flaw in, like, this worker, like, pawn, always be a follower mentality. Always, yeah, that's what it is to me. Like that, I think that's where it kind of stemmed from. I'm sure there's other places that it stemmed from, but also some people just don't like themselves, and then like I said, also a lack of power as well. Because you talk about Jay-Z always talk about it. Just because I got power, people want to say I'm an Illuminati now. People always got to discredit my power somehow. Like people always got to bring me down somehow, especially a black man power. We know that for sure. Right. Or black people power in general. They always trying to knock that
taking
down.
in consideration all the sacrifices and the trials and tribulations that person themselves have been through. Yeah. And that goes into the thing where I was talking about Beyonce. Like my sister, she used to listen to Ashanti all the time, but she swears she hated her. Like she sweared it, and now she openly admits, oh, I love Ashanti, and it's just like, it was stemmed because you actually see something you like or whatever. It's just like you couldn't project that yourself maybe, or you just didn't know them, or you didn't take the time to go deeper. So I was doing that by Beyonce. Of course, I've always liked Beyonce. I always listened to her music, but over time, her getting caught up in the hype and this and that, and it's just like I slowly backed away from her. And it's that sense of like, okay, well, bro, she's still putting out, she's still doing her work, she's still living her life. She is still this powerful aspect, and I can take from her. She's putting out multiple shit, and going back and looking at Beyonce videos and shit like that, it's like so many messages that I'm like, well, damn, like my ego or whatever it was getting in my way, because.
And I don't think that was a lack of you feeling a lack of power. I think it's like a lot of times if it's not directly aligned to us, they go back into that religious thing. We throw it away. Like we throw the baby and the bathwater away. We don't keep the baby. Like, throw the dirty bathwater away. Because Beyonce not perfect. And you don't like, even for you may only like 20 or 30 aspects of her, or 30% of the aspects of her. But those aspects are still powerful enough that you should be able to still take it. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why we'll throw a whole person away. But it's like, it go back to, should we counsel R. Kelly or counsel certain people that still have great content out here, even though they're not a good person? And I say, when it comes to this conversation, no. Huh?
When a victim becomes the abuser, how do you choose an accuser?
That's so boring.
I love that.
We're gonna break that down over time. But yeah, it's just like, especially when somebody really got some great content that like help drive the world or help push the world. Michael Jackson is the best example of that. Just because they tried to cancel Michael Jackson, just say if we did cancel Michael Jackson, would you really cancel his music because it helped change the world? No, you can't. You can't. But so you still have to take, even though that person's not perfect. And that's always saying, they go back to don't cancel the message because of the messenger. And we do that all the time. If the messenger don't fit in our religious ideals, even though the message still stands solid, we'll get rid of it. And that's the problem with how we do a lot of some of these powerful people, because obviously they may smoke or may cuss. Or I'm trying to think of some of the shallow things while we'll cut somebody else. They may have tattoos. They may be a rapper, but Kendrick Lamar is still like he's still somebody that Jesus or somebody would want to be around them, because that's just a good person from the image that they put off. I'll say that.
I feel like the concept of God should be understood, that God is everything, So being godly in a sense, like people look look at celebrities or look at people and they all be like, oh, they're gods, they're godly. So it's like, well, the perception of God is perfect or flawless or something, but God is everything, you know. So it's like people get so caught up in the fact that, oh, they're in this light, so they're supposed to pursue this image, this
they gotta have this perfect image and stuff like that.
Because that's what. But if you understand what God and being godly is just owning your power. And yes, things are gonna be good and bad. Nigga, that's life. Everybody got it. You know, like they're still, you know, they're still.
Or they just may not even. It may not even be, because sometimes it's just a matter of swag or sauce or like,
yeah,
just
like,
that's just not my vibe. But just because it's not my vibe, like for instance, I don't really listen to country music or.
I like me some country.
But yeah, I like it too. But I'm just saying, like, I'm just trying to give like ideas of certain things that I don't really just straight vibe with. But you obviously know there's some good stuff in there. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of times we just because we don't vibe with it, we'll just dismiss it. It don't even always be religious, but a lot of times it comes from religion.
There's just like those like universal songs that every kind of race or can relate to, like rock and roll, black. Well, I'm not even gonna say that, but rock and roll is usually it's like hard bashing, like hardcore.
Mm-hmm. But it's some songs that black people can just everybody fuck with that.
But if you hear I love rock and roll,
yeah, everybody fuck with that
because it's
a vibe.
A vibe, like. It's music is feelings, period. So.
Yeah, but that's what just when I say people in general, like. I'll give an example. I don't fuck with Neil deGrasse Tyson at all, but I am sure it's certain aspects of him I could pull from. I say like it's gonna be a minimum percentage, but
I know he's physically factual.
Even if, I don't know that either, but I say like just him being intellectual and how he carry himself and how he confident in the bullshit that he believe in. Mm-hmm. That's enough to pull. Be like, all right, behind that, at least you can pull that confidence. Like it's always something like, and that's how I operate in life. No matter who if somebody really come across my path and I talk to them, whether however they look, if they actually grab my attention, I'm like, okay, let's have a conversation, even if it's like for 2 or 3 seconds, because it's like it's something there that you can grab from. And that's just how I say with these people that be in power, a lot of time we don't be trying to understand them. And I go another aspect, media. I hate the media. But obviously the media has some way of controlling it and getting people to listening to them. So let's see what type of tools and things that they use so I can understand them and develop them for myself. So even if I don't fuck with some shit and don't like none of the shit they do, I can still take some of the things they do, obviously, because that's just how these things are set up.
And that's kind of